Today, I'm very excited. I have Molly on the podcast with Bookkeeping by Molly. She is a prior student of both Babs and Libby. And today she is going to come and share her experience. So, Molly, let's get started. Can you just tell the slow version of how you ended up deciding to start a bookkeeping business?
Yeah. So actually, Katie, it's kind of fun because I originally, prior to my bookkeeping business, so I've been in the accounting world 10 plus years. It's almost 15 years at this point, but I had originally wanted to do blogging and like be a blogger and like maybe an influencer. And I started that and quickly figured out like I didn't like not for me. So I have three little girls, Katie, and it was after the birth of my third little girl. I was on maternity leave and I was scrolling TikTok and I saw another bookkeeper actually who was like saying get out of corporate and had like linked your course. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, oh, this is how I can be on the online space and like use the skills that I already have and enjoy. And that this is how Bookkeeping by Molly came about. I just saw a TikTok, it clicked. I was like, duh, this is so like what I should be doing.
I'm taking notes on my phone because I always forget to get a pen and paper and then like I want to ask you things without interrupting.
Oh God, no,
So
no, that's okay.
but when you're talking about blogging and wanting to do that, I'm assuming that that was while you were in like it wasn't your original thing. Your original thing sounds like it was accounting. Then you
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
in
getting
corporate.
disenchanted with accounting and then
Yeah,
thinking, what else could I do? Right.
yeah, yeah.
And so you were thinking about blogging. Was that is that after your first two and before the third that you're
Yep.
saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm so curious about that. And I think that, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same old story of tell me why you pursued accounting to begin with. Let me not fill you in.
Oh my gosh, no. So back in it was Katie because back in like college, I was going to school to be in business administration. And then I had an accounting professor that was like, you should do accounting. You'd really like accounting. Go accounting. It's always like something to fall back on. And at the time I had picked it too, Katie, because I was like, it's back office. I knew I wanted a family, knew I wanted kids, and it would in my mind, I thought it would be something that had like a lot more flexibility
Right.
to the role. And again, I liked the accounting. I liked that piece of it. And I started in public accounting too, Katie. Big
Yeah.
Four and moved into industry. Yeah.
I talk to my kids all the time about, I mean, it's not surprising that, and I'm mostly talking about my 10 and 8-year old or like are really good at math and following systems and stuff like that. So like you would do well at this. But we also have these like really candid conversations about college. Like
Yeah.
it's weird because for me, I always knew I wanted to go to college, but I'm the only one of I have two sisters. I'm the only one of the three of us that like followed the totally traditional path. My other sister went to nursing school. So like she went to school, but not the 4-year degree. And the other one, what'd she get? The AA. And she has some pretty high job now, but she's just one of those people that can. She's like, maybe was a little too smart to spend all of the time in college.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
have these conversations with them about like how I just don't want them to feel pressured to do it if it's not like something that's going to benefit them. But I'm like, it definitely benefited me. And I studied accounting and I had this totally different idea of what that would be in my head. Cause like you're saying, I thought it would be flexible. And I laugh out loud when I say I thought I would do taxes from home as a mom. Like that is hilarious. I can't even do my own taxes at home with my kids now. The youngest is 6. No way.
I
Like
know you don't know that until you have kids. Yeah.
it's so complicated. Taxes are
Yeah.
so complicated. And like, I actually think it takes a completely different brain than a bookkeeper. I have never said this out loud, but I think that makes so much sense because taxes are gray and
Mhm.
bookkeeping is black and white. And I think what a lot of us like about bookkeeping is that we know that we've got the right answer and that we're like such type A people that we can't handle not knowing. So, like, if I were to try to do tax, I would be stuck in a world of research and second guessing my decision all the time and doing that alone without an office of people to bounce off your ideas and your doubts and your two ways of looking at things would be terrible. So, I
Yeah.
just laugh out loud at the idea of doing that. But what's interesting is it did end up flexible for both of us, just not flexible in the way that we started it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now I'm just super curious about the blogging. Like,
Yeah.
so when you wanted to do blogging, what was the topic? Did you have one?
It was going to be so at that time, Katie. So my husband was back in school. I think he was back in school or was just he's a first responder. He's a firefighter. So we were like in the trenches of like little kids, almost going to be having a newborn. And I just kind of felt like lonely, and I kind of felt this pull of like I can't be the only one. Like the blogs I enjoyed reading were like the mommy blogs, right? Like hearing what they were going through, and I was like, I think what I was craving too was very much, and this was right around, I had my youngest Katie in 2022. So like kind of just coming out of COVID and stuff, and it really stemmed from like, okay, I want to kind of get out of corporate. I know that there's this opportunity online in how to get there. Like I liked reading blogs. I'm not a good writer, Katie. The blog thing makes me laugh now because it was more so I think I was looking for like a community and more so of other people going through similar things.
Ooh.
Uh, yeah.
Because I'm
And
like,
then
then you found that with us.
yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even get started about, I mean, I'm sure we will. I'm pumped about it. Like it's just I was going down, I was looking for it in the wrong spot. And it's so simple. Like I connected with this other bookkeeper and I'm like, you made one TikTok that like changed my life. And like you need to know that. And it was like
Aw.
it was so simple, Katie. Like when I saw it, it was like, oh, and that's yeah, then I fell into, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but like fell down your rabbit hole and like talked to everybody who's taken the course. I did my due diligence on it and like loved it. And I was like, this is so just simple. It just needed to be, I just needed to see it. I
I
just needed to see
love that.
it.
I
Yeah.
love that too, how it's like one person made, you said TikTok, right?
Yeah,
Or
it was. It was a TikTok, I think. I'm pretty sure.
love that too,
Because
because
this is I had a TikTok for my dog too, Katie. Like that was the other piece of like the blogging. I was like trying all of these things because I was on maternity leave too, and I was like, oh, I've got time to like
and the things
fiddle
that you
fart
can do from your
around.
phone
Yes,
while you're
yes,
maybe with
yes,
a nap trapped with a sleeping baby on your
yes,
chest and your brain
yes.
doesn't shut off. Isn't that
No,
interesting?
yes, no, yeah. So that's what I mean, that's why I was on TikTok. I remember that. I was scrolling that, saw that TikTok. And I the other piece of it too, Katie, is I pretty quickly was like, I actually don't want to share my kids online and kind of what we have going on. So I
Yeah.
was like, how can I blog about it and not want to share those
The
pieces?
funny thing that this is bringing up for me, because I had no idea about this blogging thing. And I'm just going to tell everyone that's listening. Molly's yesterday, she's like, do I need to prepare? Do we have a script? I'm like, nope. I'm going to ask you one question about like how you got here. And we're just going to pull out the threads and go from there. And I always learn things I didn't know, which I love.
Yeah,
Like I had no idea that you wanted to do a blog. But the thing that was coming up in my head is like, I always look at the things that I wanted to do and then how they actually connect. And
yeah,
if blogging was really just, if it's making you laugh because it wasn't for you and you found what you needed, cool. But
yeah.
there's also a part of me that's like, have you been blogging about bookkeeping? Like, have you
No,
been blogging for your business owners about the things that, because blogging is so cool for bookkeepers and I don't think enough do it.
yeah, no,
And if I were focused, which I'm not, on one thing, I would definitely have a blog full. And I have some old ones for business owners, but blogs for business owners are a really good thing. Blogs for your clients, blogs that don't have to go viral or anything like that. They can be like when they fill out your quote form, they get a blog about the things that prime them for the call, or a
you're gonna be
blog
taking.
after the call, or you're taking notes. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, this is gold. Here I am. Yeah,
Or a blog after your clients sign. Like
yeah,
I still do education for my clients and I have more ideas than I actually execute, but I have a feeling that like they marry somewhere. It's just not the top leader and it's not the income generator for you. And not that
yeah,
blogging, like if you become a prominent blogger, which some people are able to crack the code on, it does have a way of bringing you actually pretty steady revenue. There's some risk in it, right? But
yeah,
because I was going to say the difference is like for us, we're always backed by that bookkeeping business with the recurring revenue that pieces fall off, but small ones that you're able to replace.
yeah,
My favorite thing about bookkeeping. And then you said something that really just like makes like warms my heart. The idea that somebody shared the resource and then you came to find out what's possible. And I can't wait to hear you share what you were able to achieve from 2022 now to 2026. I
yeah,
love the timeline of that because I'm constantly preaching in every episode that you're not too late to start because I know the feeling of feeling too late to start something when you see others ahead of you in anything.
yeah, yeah,
But the whole purpose in me having this coaching thing is because I could not believe, like I still sit here and go like I can't believe bookkeeping can do
yeah,
this. I can't believe that this was kind of here all along and I didn't know it. And I'm so grateful for the way that it unfolded for me, because I think it happened in perfect timing. I don't
Yeah.
actually feel like I was late to starting it, but because I enjoyed working corporate before I had kids. I
Right.
liked all of that before I had kids, and I was happy and fulfilled, and I had the time in the day, and I might have wanted more vacations. That's probably about it. I might have wanted to wake up later, drive a little less, and have more vacations. But otherwise, once I got to the office, I was pretty happy.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to leave sooner, but I cannot imagine those two worlds together. And I never had to do it. Like I actually still I have a teacher, one of my kids' teachers, just had a baby. She had a baby during this school year, and she came back in January from her firstborn,
Oh,
who was only born a few months before. And now she's like back into teaching fourth and fifth graders. And then I have one, my daughter's teacher is on what I'm calling grand maternity leave, which I've never heard of, but it would happen to me. And she's home right now taking care of her granddaughter for her daughter. And I'm like,
mm,
this is cool, but like, I want to cry at the fact that
yeah.
their time is so limited. Like, I actually get teary eyed thinking about what that would have been like if I had to not only go back after 3 months, but if I had to go back after 3 months and perform at the level that they have to, it's so insane to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I just feel like so grateful that I never had to do it, because I'm pretty tough and I think it would have killed me.
Yeah.
So I like my, and I just don't say that lightly, because I know that people that are listening have to do it or have done it. And there's like that wound. I think there's a wound. I can't imagine that anybody has it where it's actually easy. And I hate that so many people have to. So I really wanted people to know what was possible so that they could shorten their timeline. So it means a
Yeah.
lot to me, even to hear like just a handful, like if it's one person, and I know it's more than that, but if it's just one person, it's all worth it. So
Oh my gosh, I know. I say it all the time where I'm like, why didn't I find this 10 years ago? So my oldest is 9. So that I say that all the time too, Katie, because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, but I was the same. Like I was very much in like the corporate climb the ladder, like this is what you do, this is the path you take. And you're saying this, and it's like that was me, Katie. I had to, I think after my first, I had to go back at 6 weeks.
right. And then what? Because
Yeah.
how, like, so did you have a period you went back? I want to know what that's like. So
Yeah.
can you
No,
tell
it was,
me? I want
yeah.
to know what that was like, and then how long you did it, and then like when did you leave? Did you leave like
Yeah. So I've been in corporate up until honestly, Katie, 3 weeks ago. I did just quit corporate to take my bookkeeping business full time. So I built my bookkeeping business on the side, and we can chat about that. But to that, yeah, the going back at 6 weeks, it was awful. And I remember crying. And at the time I had of like about a 40-minute commute each way. And I know you did too when you were in office, and like it was just a lot. Like I would get home at night at 5:45 and my baby would go to sleep at like 6:30 or 7. And it was just tough. And I'm like, this is just kind of crazy. And I did that until like COVID obviously sent everybody home. So since COVID 2020, the last 4 years, I have been able to work from home. And even then, Katie, I'm like, I don't know how I would be able to do any of this and be in an office and have a commute and like with the kids' schedules. And yeah, it was tough. And I think you or I like I try not to think about it because I feel sorry for myself. I feel sorry for anybody. And like you said, I know a lot of people have to do that and it's just part of it and
well,
it's
and then
really
you figure it out and you do what you have to do. And
yeah.
also I think you kind of compartmentalize and maybe get used to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it just
And
becomes
yeah, it becomes what you have to do. But like really, and I really mean this. I was doing this morning too, brushing my hair and my teeth at the same time. I
yeah.
used to do that like before I had kids. I would wake up as late as I possibly could, and like, not to be graphic, be peeing, brushing my teeth and my hair
Yeah,
at the same time,
absolutely.
throw something on and run out the door without
Yeah.
even coffee, water. I was lucky enough to work in a building where once I got there, there was food, there was
Yeah.
coffee, like, and that's the only way that I made it through. They had lunch. I didn't come with a lunch packed. And then I would come home and I would barely be able to get my laundry done for myself before the week started again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't I did get everything done, but it never felt easy. Is I wanted to say I didn't do a great job. I got it done,
Yeah.
but it was always like by the skin of my teeth. And maybe that's just my personality. I might be like that in general, but I always wondered, like, because it was not lost on me ever.
Yeah.
Like when my son was 6 weeks old, I was thinking, I'm supposed to be back at work. Like, how? And then at 12 weeks, I was like, this is probably when I would have gone back.
Yeah.
How? So those are
Right.
really, really, really hard times. That's when the baby stops being cute
Oh
and
my gosh.
starts
Yeah.
being scary. And you're
Yeah.
like lost in research of what's wrong with my baby. And then you realize it's just they're a baby. At
Right.
least that was my experience. I did not. I
Literally.
still marvel when I go out and I see like kids sleeping in strollers. And I still say now, I'm like, for exactly 0 minutes did I have that baby. On three
Yeah.
attempts, I never ever had that. Just
Yeah.
wasn't mine. Um,
Right.
so I would be like, how? And I genuinely want to know if you're getting home at 5:45, which is the earliest you could get home,
Yeah.
and you're putting a baby down, it takes 45 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
So what does the rest of the night look like? Like, and when are you going to bed and when are you waking
Yeah.
up? Assuming
Yeah.
it's obviously interrupted, but even that window, like what was
Oh
that window?
gosh, I'm trying to think back, Katie. I mean, it was late. I mean, and my firstborn, Katie, I mean, was great. So she would go down.
Oh,
So I'd have a few hours. My second and third was not that case at all. But I very much then still, like you said, you still have your household chores
yeah,
or your laundry or just, and I think, I don't know, for me sometimes too, like after you put the kids to bed and you're just like coming down and you're like,
yeah,
okay, it's, and like, yes, either you have your long to-do list or you want to like just exist with nobody needing you for a little bit. So I would end up staying up later than I should
yeah.
have. I mean, even till this day, sometimes that happens. I'm working on that, Katie, especially being out of corporate now and making my own schedule. But gosh, those days I would get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. And
Oh my
I know
gosh.
people do it even earlier, but that was because I would even have to leave my house by 7. So by the time you'd get the kid up, your
You would
baby
have
up,
to wait.
and
Is
yes,
it your
them
first
up
a
earlier.
girl or a boy?
I
Like
have
a
3-year-old Katie, so
oh
they're
wow.
girls. Yep,
Okay.
yep, yeah.
Fun
So
for
my little,
them.
yeah, for
So
them.
fun. That is so fun though. But
So just
I
yeah,
yeah, so did you have to wake her up?
yep, yep.
That's
And she
so
would have to be out before
heartbreaking.
stuff too. Yes, yes, I know. I have it on my time hop where I'll see pictures at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning of her, the baby eating. Like, I mean, at like she's probably 1 years old because she's feeding herself. But it's like, look at her tired little eyes. And like I just remember when you see it, it brings up those feelings. I don't necessarily think on them otherwise, but it's like just being tired, just feeling in that constant need, Katie, to like be going. There's like a new like reel or something going around where it's saying like instead of rushing through everything and feeling like stressed all the time, see how relaxed you can feel.
I
And
saw that.
have you
I
seen
just
that?
I just
Yeah.
quoted it last week. I was like, I really
Yes.
like that. There were two that I saw, that one. So for anyone who might not have seen it,
Not have seen it.
it's like,
Yeah.
how relaxed can I be doing this task? The one that I saw was cooking, and I was like, ooh, I love that. And the
Yes.
other thing that I saw was a mom out loud reminding herself this is not an emergency. Like, get your shoes on. This is not an emergency. Like, hurry up. This is not an emergency. And I love it because we
Yes.
definitely need to recondition and slow down. And I'm kind of, I'm getting in my own head about how we're talking about this because there's still so much empathy for anyone who's listening that's like so annoyed by the conversation. I get a little bit annoyed with people when they say like I solo parented this week and I'm like ugh, like it's like
Yeah.
almost insufferable to hear, but at the same time they're saying it's hard and like giving that nod, and that's all that I'm trying to
Yeah.
do is like see the struggle that gets
Yeah.
normalized. That's
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
also like just give you a hug to anyone who's there, and there's not, it's not an immediate fix. I think that's kind of the thing that I regularly struggle with is if you put me there right now knowing what I know, how would I get out? And I would just get started.
Right.
So you were there, Molly, to
Oh my
really
gosh.
speak about getting started. So
Yeah.
you really started this journey in 2022, is that right?
Yep. Yep. The end
So
of
about
2020.
when?
Yeah.
End, you said?
I purchased Babs in August because I was still on maternity leave.
Okay.
My baby I had in April. So yeah, like the end of my maternity leave. I think Katie, I like officially launched. I made my Instagram in like October, and I actually signed my first client then that January.
Okay. So we're talking about, I'm like trying to do the math here.
Yeah.
22, 3, 4, 5, 3.5 years, three and a
Yeah.
half,
Yep.
about. Yeah. Cause we're in
About
March. No, we're in February.
yeah.
February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Can you repeat you bought Babs in August of 2022. First client came when?
In January. But
Of
I did it.
23?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
Were
I
you
did, but I
ready
didn't
yet?
like start an Instagram or anything, Katie, until the end of October, I believe.
October of 22.
20. Yep.
Okay, I mean that's
Yeah.
fast though.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
were you
It was.
in Libby? When did you join Libby?
Well, I joined Libby then, Katie, that in the spring of 2023. It wasn't with my first client, but then shortly after that, I signed a cleanup. And that's what I used then to purchase Libby because I knew I wanted Libby after Babs. Yeah.
Right. So you're like, I found the money to invest in Babs. I have either already recouped that money in Babs or no, I will with the
Yeah.
perpetual between those two clients. And that's smart. Yeah, that's the way
Yeah.
that I would do it too. I
Yeah.
always think so, like for anyone listening, and you can talk about purchasing Babs, like how did you do that in your head? Did you just save for it and say,
Actually, Katie, this was one of the times when you had like a payment plan. I did it
okay,
on. Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So inspo for that because I'm not
Because
going to
Katie,
turn it.
I was like, by the time I saw that TikTok and like went down your rabbit hole and purchasing was pretty quick.
Mhm.
Like I knew after seeing that TikTok and reading your stuff and like I
Talking to
caught
other
myself
people,
like,
knowing it's not a
yes,
gimmick. Yeah.
yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was like, because there's other courses and I'm sure maybe I mean, I can't speak to them because I didn't take them, but no, or maybe I would have saved up but I just wanted to do
My
it.
applications say that the other courses don't compete. That's all I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
say.
probably have
I've never
that. Yeah.
taken them. I've never taken them, but I do know that if I had a
Yeah.
dollar for every time I read, I wish I had found your course first, I would
Yeah.
have a few dollars.
Yes. So
Sometimes
that's
I
what I
actually feel bad about not marketing it harder because of that, but like I just don't like to market in the way that some of them do. But
some of them.
anyway,
I agree.
I
I
do want
agree.
to say because of you mentioning the payment plan, it's not something that I like really turn
Right.
on. But if
Yep.
anyone's listening and they're like, you had that episode with Molly and it would really help, let me know and I will consider turning it on for a period of
Yeah.
time because I do pop up things like that sometimes to make the jump easier, but I
Mhm.
don't do it all the time because when people buy in that way, it
Mhm.
leads to more of like a need to repay and a frustration and like putting yourself in a mental timeline of I need to get this client this month, and a month may seem like a long time. It's really not though, and it's not enough time to pressurize your results, especially if you have other things going on or you don't already have a network or you need a little bit longer to get your skill. So with that, like because for you Molly, it was like you were an accountant, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess I would be interested though in you speaking. I want to get to where your first client came from and like the Libby experience, but I also want to know what your experience with what what your experience was like with Babs having
Yeah.
been an accountant.
Yeah. So I thought it was really good, Katie. And I should say too, as far as like being in accounting, my experience prior to Babs in like my actual bookkeeping business, I mean, it was accounting, but it wasn't bookkeeping, if that makes sense. I was very much in an industrial role or an audit role, have the accounting knowledge, but not the actual like I felt like I didn't have the bookkeeper like knowledge or refresh or like just some of the intricacies of it. Like as I was going through Babs, I remember telling my husband like, and I got the book too, Katie, that you recommended in Babs. So like even having it in front of me and like
The
looking,
textbook or the workbook?
yes, I got them both,
Yeah.
and
But
they
you're
both
talking about the textbook, right?
the textbook is what I
Okay.
first started because I know at the beginning of Babs, Katie, like where it kind of goes through the technical aspect of accounting. I thought that was a really great refresh, and I mean, I like all of Babs. I still refer to Babs and I can chat through that too, but that was my experience with it. Like sure I had some of the accounting knowledge in the background and like previously, but like truly having the refresh of it and it laid out so I think it's just laid out really great. Like it made
I love
sense.
that.
Like yeah, yeah. So that's where, and like obviously in Babs too, then Katie, you get into like the shadow portion, or like you went through a Stripe upload, like some of those like little pieces of like getting the
Huge.
data into the software. Yes, and I wouldn't have maybe have known like if I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just gonna be a bookkeeper, because I see this a lot too sometimes online where people are like, I'm launching my business, and it's like, what do I need to know? And I'm like, what do you like? Maybe go find what you don't know, type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. I wouldn't have known those pieces.
like you said, I think, I mean, I don't know if you completely finish your thought, but like about a Stripe upload, you're
Mhm.
talking about, well, I mean, I have to do it in a couple of different ways in Babs. So, first, we're working with mock data, meaning we can't connect an actual feed and then work with it the way that it'll come in the future. So,
Yep.
but we're also talking about like, how do you start with Stripe? if it's today and it's February 23rd and you're going to go back to January, Stripe
Yep.
only connects from today. So you have to get in the history. And I'm
Yep.
sure that there's like, quote, good enough ways that people get it where like they're not hurting anything badly on the taxes. But then there's like really good ways that are super easy and efficient. And the way that I do it is like I'll usually do that right there while we're like onboarding. Like I've got what
Yeah.
I need and that's so quick and easy for me. I get the history in there right away. I'll export it and ask them questions so that I know exactly what I'm looking at so we can condense the questions. And I love doing that. But like you're saying, you might have done it in a slow way. You might have done it in a not great way. Like, and all of that
What
stuff
I would hate it.
it can be worked with, but if there's
Yeah.
a better, more effective, more efficient way to do it, and you get the cheat code handed to you from day one, that's pretty cool. Because
Yeah.
I I am wondering how I ended up even knowing some of this. And I in my accounting experience, it was similar. I wasn't a bookkeeper. I worked in sales tax for a big corporation for I don't know, it's 7 years. It felt so much longer. I think it was 7 years. And then like two tax seasons, we did bookkeeping, but we did it so differently. So I did kind of understand the objective, and the tax return piece, I think, was really important to know like where it goes and what ends up happening with it. But
Yeah.
my days in corporate before the CPA firm were heavy in data manipulation. And I think because of that, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but like we exported and dealt with like CSVs, and I had like a lot of different cheat codes for how we would take raw data files with thousands and thousands of rows and then turn it into something else. So I think there's like, I think it's like if you type or handwrite, right? I can't stand handwriting. Like I would never write. I have a friend who writes like a whole to-do list or like instructions by hand, and she looks like it's perfect and it comes out like a font and it's gorgeous. For me, that would be painful. Like the idea of doing that when I know I could do it 10 times faster. So I think it might just come from that is like me knowing that you can manipulate data and knowing that there's got to be a faster way and not being able to kind of rest until I've figured it out. And I'm the kind of person too that like I had phone calls with zero back in those days when I had like 5 clients and babies and stuff. I don't know if they called me and I answered or what, but I think it was a zero rep that kind of talked me through some of the different ways that you could do things before Stripe was, or I knew Stripe was a bank feed too. Like now there's more efficient ways to do it, but yeah, that stuff was the whole point. And efficiency cannot be understated in how important it is to actually run a business that gives you time freedom. Because if you're getting it in, if you're not efficient, like you're going to sacrifice on one of two things, which is like your time or your accuracy. So it's
Right.
really, really, really important. So I love you mentioning that. I also love the textbook piece and like that you liked it, even having the background in that, because for me, it was like enjoyable to go back and
Yeah.
look at what used to be complicated and say, wait, now that I have like this little bit of life experience, this does make sense.
Yeah.
And I
Oh gosh.
enjoyed, right?
Yes.
Like it's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden debits and credits and T accounts actually make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And how you, and so much of it too is how is even understanding, Katie, what you want the end piece to look like and then how
Yes.
to, that's been a big
Have you
thing for
gone
me.
through it since the update?
I have not. I
Oh
have
my
not.
God.
But
Because the coolest part about the textbook part now is that I show you the textbook examples in zero. So
oh,
it
cool.
really brings it together so that you're seeing not just like the theory and the debits and the credits, but then you see it go into software. So it's like how this actually would look. And then things that would not apply because when we talk about the textbook, like it's an actual accounting textbook. It's just something that I got because I can't teach accounting better than an accounting textbook.
Right.
And then I read through it like I'm tutoring you. And then I take it one step further in the revamp that anybody who bought prior has access to, and anybody who bought afterwards, it's the only one you're seeing. Because that really, really brings it all together. And that was like a cool addition. And then there are things in this textbook where it's like, they bought a bicycle on an account, like on a payment, like whatever at the bicycle shop. Like they just have a payment plan there, which is like almost never going to happen. So I talk through
Right.
like what would really happen. And then I give you an example more like reality. Like you might put that on a credit card. So I
Yeah.
take that from like on account to a credit card, make it more real world. Sorry, I geeked out there because like I
No, I need to. It's been on my, yeah.
love hearing that people love the textbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love finding my people like that are like, yes. Okay, so Babs helped you remember what you knew.
Yeah. And just feel confident in the software. I mean, even I know you were talking about Stripe too, Katie, and even like there's like a way the date needs formatted in
Yeah,
order to make it go into zero. And like even little nuggets like that, I still refer back to. Like my Babs actual workbook is in my desk drawer, and so is Libby. And I refer
yeah,
to them all the time. And it's stuff of like, I remember Katie said this. I know it's in here. Like, what was that little piece? Like it's I when I bought Babs, I didn't expect to still be using it and referring to it 4 years later.
Well,
But I
because
mean, like,
a lot of it is like you're looking at it, and just like you said, I pictured it would be that you get it, but
yeah,
the only way that you really learn, even after apply, where you get to test it, is in real life, where you run
yeah,
into bigger,
issues.
different hiccups, and then
Yeah.
you connect it, or you forget, and so you come back. So also, we never really show behind the scenes of Babs too much, but I've got them into bite-sized episodes named by, they're not episodes, whatever, lessons that are named the way that you would expect to find it. So you can go back and find just the video on a Stripe import, or just the part where you're bringing in like opening balances, just the part where you're tying to the tax return or payroll. Those are the things that I think people probably go back and refer to later
Yes.
once they get the client that has that thing,
Yeah, that you
because
see it.
not all
Yeah.
clients are going to have them all.
Right, right. And even like I don't even know how many times, Katie, I watched your like discovery call that was in Babs and like even its
Gotta see
layout.
the new one.
No, like until you
Better.
I need to
Yeah.
because like you get confident in doing it and like you get your flow and stuff, but having never done it or knowing what to even ask, that was super helpful. Like
Yeah.
that, yeah, the technical side of it, but then also it just for me, Katie helped even get through like the imposter syndrome too
Of
of like,
course. That's the whole idea. Yeah. And it
yeah,
is comprehensive because the idea is really like to understand it, you have to kind of understand the history of it, which is I started my bookkeeping business. Then for a year, I was coaching people who trusted that they could really do the books, and they could. All of the people that joined the first round of what is now Life by the Books definitely had the skill to do the bookkeeping themselves. And then on those calls, I might tell them hack or something. They would learn like how to do it a little bit faster. We did have people move from QuickBooks to Zero even before I really showed the back end of why. But I was leaving people behind, and I was getting asked from all kinds of people to learn the skill. And I thought, this is a skill that can be learned, but how? Like, how? How? Because I don't want to push a bunch of bad bookkeepers out into the world. That's not my goal. So it was like, what would I show you? And a lot of people would ask, like, can I work for you? And I'm like, no. It's like the amount of time that I would have to go into how we would do this. Like, how would I ever? I think Leslie on my team now is up to the standard of like she went through Babs. I mean, so that helps. She hasn't been through like everything the way that like a bookkeeper who joined my programs would, but I've given her a lot of instruction. But before that, the bookkeepers who worked for me wouldn't know the things that are in Babs in that way because it takes so much time to train them
right.
and a real order of how you're going to do it. And so it was like, I can't just throw you into the books. You need to know the way that you talk about this. And there are really subtle things that we do that are a really big deal that make it work or not, which is be able to have conversations with our clients. The whole tax piece is like, you should not do tax, but you cannot be ignorant about the conversation or the questions that come up. You have to be able to help them and guide them and push them to a CPA. And some of them are going to be avoidant to that.
Yeah.
So all of that, so that you can go out and actually be a competent and ethical bookkeeper. So yeah, we show a lot. Thank you
Yeah.
for pulling out those pieces. And
Yeah.
then inside the new Babs, you get like, I think I might have this in the old one. It's just a little bit better in this. It's like questions to ask before. It's not a whole sales training, but it's
Yeah.
more the technical things that you should extract from it. So questions to ask up front, and then questions to ask on the call, just the sales call, so that you have the information to do the onboarding. And then there's that, like the steps of the onboarding, what you need to do and ask for, so you're not clunking through this. This is a little side tangent for another episode that I'm going to do. But I got a DM the other day asking about like firing a client. And this is from somebody who's never been in Libby. And I posted on the stories, like, who here has ever had a client that like no amount of money that they pay, you want to get rid of them? 37 people said yes. That's a lot. And I'm like,
That was me. I voted on that.
okay. As I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there are reasons for this though. And you might want to get rid of a client if you have a clunky onboarding system. Like that's one possibility, is you haven't led them well enough to give you the information that you need. And there actually could be some things that could be on you. There's some things that might not. I'm going to do a whole thing about that. But the point of me saying that is that how we lead these conversations are important, because we have to not only have the data, but like have access to it and get it in. Otherwise, we can't do our job because it's garbage in and garbage out. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about Babs? Because I want to shift to your first client.
No.
Okay. All right, cool. So, first client, where'd they come from?
She said she found me on Instagram.
Okay, so just randomly found you. That's so cool. Sometimes they're already like waiting in the wings, or sometimes people join because they've got someone asking them to do it and they're like, now I should figure out how.
Yeah. And when I started this too, Katie, so I was obviously still in corporate and I was
Hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely was. So
Let's talk
yeah.
about that. Everybody
Yeah.
has so many questions about that. So, yeah, in your experience, what, like, I don't know, what fears did you have? What did you have to tiptoe around? And what advice would you give to somebody else in your shoes?
Yeah, so I had a lot of fear of, because I was still in like an accounting role. I just wasn't sure that, and two totally different types of accounting. It was not bookkeeping. I was very much like on a back end accounting system for that company. Like it wasn't anything, but I was afraid, Katie, I think like if they found out, like they'd be like, no, this is still like too closely related, or it's both types of accounting. Like I was afraid at that point of them firing me, to be honest. Like I didn't want, and I never like worked on my business while I was like at corporate. Like I just, it wouldn't have allowed for it, Katie. Like there wasn't, like I still had things to do in corporate, but I think I was very much afraid. And at first too, I had it in my head like, oh, you have to hit this certain point before you can quit corporate, or this won't work. Like I kind of had a lot of limiting beliefs to start, Katie, and that's why it was kind of like I was quiet about it. I think it would have probably grown quicker too if I wouldn't have hid. I just kept it very on the down low, and I mean, it organically grew anyways, but that was probably my biggest piece. Long-winded, but just I was afraid of losing my corporate job. And would we have like figured, like if it would have happened, I think I would have figured it out and it wouldn't have been. I mean, at the time it might have felt bad, but I think it
Yeah.
would have.
Well, it
Yeah.
usually feels bad and is clarifying at the same
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you're like, what? Like, you're really going to do that? But it makes sense because, especially when you work from home, right? There's always that they're going to think I'm doing it on their time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even if it's not that, it's perception of she's halfway out the door. That's never good.
Right.
And you want to be able to just like do it in your own time and figure it out.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of people who have been in those shoes, and it is something that needs to be, I think it needs to be done carefully. And
Yeah.
mostly you have to really be ready, because while it could have grown faster, to your point, you don't know that. You are a contributing member to a family of five.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
have to feel ready. You have to be ready. And it's interesting too, isn't it? Because like we don't have to talk about the dollars at all. But like, say you're making 100% over here in corporate,
Yep.
usually people want to get to that 100% before they leave. It's just like how we feel. At
Yeah.
least you want to I feel like I would want to be at least here, like at least probably like 30-40%, because then I would start to recognize I still have a huge time block to this job and I'm not showing up fully. And so if I make the leap, I'll be able to eat while I get here, but I'm gonna get here, right? I would want to, like, I call it, prove the process.
That's just
um,
it, Katie. Yeah. I was just going to
right.
say that. Yeah.
Right, like prove that this is not just one client and one fluke. Prove that, like, I would want probably at least 6 months personally, and to have stacked a few clients before I was ready, and know that I'm now making enough money. We might make some sacrifices, but like I
Yeah.
don't want us to start going into debt would be how I would be thinking about it. But what's interesting is that because I mean I did similar when I really started growing my bookkeeping business, I accidentally had 5 clients at the time for
Yeah.
years. And
Yeah.
one of them was kind of big. I mean, they were thousands of dollars a month and they were
Yeah.
pretty flexible, but it was sort of like a job. And I
Right.
wanted to replace them because of the stress that I had from them, which was mine. But
Right. Oh,
like
of course.
that was totally self imposed, but
Yeah.
it's still how I felt all of the time. So I wanted to replace this. And then I did. And then it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that because it seemed like I would never do it. But wait, now this is half my income. I don't
Right.
want to let go of, like, I doubled my income, but now I don't want to let go of half my income as part of
Yes.
it too.
Yeah.
And you kind of can do both for a long time,
Absolutely.
especially if you grow a team from day one. And I don't know if that's how, did you?
I didn't. No, but you had said it in trainings, Katie, and I probably should have listened.
No, but it's okay
I'm
because
being honest.
you, if it doesn't feel right to you, it's not right.
My
Oh,
business too, Katie, when I first started it, this was another piece too. Like, I didn't want the pressure of like, this has to succeed, if that makes sense. Like, that was another thing with like
yep,
corporate.
I
It
get
just
it.
got to feel safe and fun, and like the extra income got to be fun, or I got to reinvest it. And like, it just gave me the breathing room, which is at that point, Katie, I really wanted. And again, like in the trenches with kids and other jobs, like so many personal things, like that just felt like a solid. Whereas like now I'm in a completely different point, and it definitely too, Katie, I'm sure we'll get to that, but got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm stretched too thin.
Yeah.
Like, can't do all of it. Which again, if I would have maybe grown a team, but I think too, I don't know, Katie, like that's on my radar now too. So
Well, right, because
agree with
there's a million ways to do it, and you're right.
you.
Like it probably felt because I've definitely been here where like I knew I needed more support in the team, but I also know because this is true, no matter what anyone tells you, that you better be organized
Yeah,
and you better have time to train. You have to
that's right.
invest your time in order to buy it back. And
Yeah,
if you are in a time deficit, you can't.
right.
And if you're fearful, it's not the right way to do it, right? Because there is vulnerability in letting go of tasks and bringing someone in, and there's work to do in how you manage that yourself. Like I just talked about self-imposed pressure from my client. That wasn't, they weren't doing that. I
No.
was creating that, but that I couldn't actually get to a point where that didn't stress me out. And sometimes it's like that with bringing in a team too, especially if you overpromise them. Now, if
Yeah,
one client leaves, what are you going to do if this person was expecting this and if you don't have time to work on it? So I get it. But depending on how you do it, it can be done and it could be done long term. I
yeah,
actually sometimes think, and I'm probably not really going to ever do this, but sometimes I think, what if I could like replace myself enough in my bookkeeping business that I could get a job? Like,
yeah,
wouldn't that be interesting? Because you could
yeah,
have a job and you could have this. I also wanted to touch on, I would be willing to bet for you too that you didn't want to leave right away because of like volatility and like the economy and
oh gosh, yeah,
wanting to know how your clients would do through some of these seasons. I
yeah,
remember the truth is when COVID happened, I I had what that's March of 2020. I had grown myself to like 18 clients. And now I was starting to talk about bookkeeping right at this time.
yeah,
Like started coaching a few months before. And then COVID is closing some of my clients' businesses. I had CrossFit gyms, acupuncturists, those were the most affected. And
yeah,
then mostly I had a lot of online type businesses. And I was like, oh, like, is this still going to be okay? And it was really interesting to see, especially in 2020, it just boomed. So, yes, some people closed and some people, I think like 2 clients left or offboarded, and then we grew more. So, you want to see that though. And you want to see it through a couple of cycles to know it is actually safe and you're not quitting something that is there for you too prematurely. Right. But yeah, tell me about deciding to quit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, so excited. So I just quit. It was a few weeks ago. And the deciding factor too was like I said, Katie, it got to the point where I couldn't do both. I was working late at night. I was working on my weekends, and I was like, and now, Katie, I was to the point where I like believed, truly believed, like myself. Like it took me a while to get there because I'd be asked like, "Oh, do you want this to be full time?" And I in my head was always like, "Oh no, I like it as a side business." Like, and then I got to the point and I'm like, why? Like, I love this. Like, it's to the point too where I'm enjoying this work more. I enjoy the community as a huge piece of it, Katie. And like, we can get into that too, but like people that I took Libby with like are some of my closest friends today. And like we still like and like that's like the foundation of it. And I'm like, this is where I want to be spending my time. And like that's the biggest piece of it. And even just like sometimes like I'd add request for time off and like it would be like, oh, we have to check, or like, oh, you can't do this or that. And I'm like, okay, I'm just to the point in my career and in my business now where I'm like, this, it just makes more sense to spend my time over here. And like you said, like some of these things like the blogs or growing a team. And I'm like, I need to have more time back to put it over here, to put it into the business. So it was just a good point, I guess, to say. And like again,
Yeah,
with
you
the new,
felt clear and
yeah,
ready.
yeah,
How'd the conversation go?
like with my boss.
Yeah.
It went good. I have a really, really good supervisor, and they obviously, Katie, weren't like I said I was going to be doing contract work. Like they were really nice and understanding, but it's not like I don't know that they knew the full extent of what I was going to go do.
Yeah, not that they need you, but
They were
was
nice.
it
They
like
were
in
nice.
your head, was it harder than it ended up being, or were you not afraid
Oh
of the
yeah.
conversation?
Oh no, I was very
The
nervous.
worst, right? It's the
Yeah,
worst
it's awful. Like
feeling.
and it was a non-event, Katie, and I'm like, why do I do that? I'm learning through that too of like just like you said, like the imposed stress that you're putting on yourself, your client wasn't, you're doing it. I do that same thing. So, and it was again, it was like a non-event. And then I did finish out my 2 weeks and I was like I don't know, like that
So
that
you're
was so
done, done.
yeah,
Oh,
done.
wow. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I was done at the end of January was my end point because I again too, Katie, like I had clients signing on with the new year and I had some cleanup projects and I was like, okay, I actually just want the time to focus on those things. Like and I debated, Katie, because like you said, you're giving up an income stream, but like now it's to the point too where I'm like, okay, if my corporate job went away and that's my only income source, like that is way scarier than having my clients and losing one or two of them.
It is, especially because you
So
have like no runway. I think about that. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking how much do I tell this story? Well, I just know of a couple of layoffs and I'm thinking, oh, like the feeling of that.
And that happened a lot in my corporate, especially here the last few years. Just like I said, like you said, like everything was volatile. Like I watch people get let go all the time. And I'm like, when is it going to be my turn? Because for so long I felt like corporate was like my safest bet. And like I've already said it, like it felt safe. But like if I literally watched coworkers like come in on a Monday and be let go. And I'm like, and then that's all of it's gone. So I like it's wild.
I think it's
Like,
so interesting to think about corporate being referred to as safe or
yeah,
secure because I quite literally never felt like that in my job. I
right.
never ever felt like it was actually safe ever. I and
Mhm.
like I I didn't end up getting laid off at any point, but you think about it all the
All the
time.
time.
It's
All the
almost
time.
like I hate making big dramatic things, but it feels the same because the truth is like my nervous system was never at rest in
Right.
corporate. I
Yeah.
never really felt like everything I was putting in was going to be given back, or you were overworking to overcompensate and to prove so that you wouldn't make cuts if cuts ever came. And
Yeah.
anything could change anything. Like my first my first job was what year was it? 2008, right? And like there was immediately like I think on my very first week there I came in and they used to stock the office with bottled water, which is problematic in and of itself. But they stopped doing that then because the economy was tanking like immediately. So they're like, we better pull back. And so these benefits that they had were not there. And then like there would be like a bonus structure in another job, and it was like, well, if we hit our targets, and it's a
This,
multi-billion-dollar company that has nothing to do with me, and what are the targets? And then the market increases would depend on the economy, and they might be really small, and it just had no actual bearing on how you worked. I was just talking to, she's a man, our relationship is complex. We used to work together in corporate. She used to be my bookkeeper, and I'm now consulting with her company where she just got a job in getting their accounting systems in place, which is pretty cool. And we
yeah.
were talking about our days in corporate because I was like, do you ever miss it sometimes? Like, do you ever miss like just what it was like then? Like, we had a Starbucks, we had yoga, like it was so fun. We got to work together. Like, it was fun in those ways. My memories are a little bit different than hers. And I was talking about like how I used to call states and I enjoyed negotiating down their notices. Like they would have this crazy scary notice and I would be calling the state like working it down, and I'm like, but it's so funny because like what was motivating me to do that? Because I got
Right.
$0 extra. I got zero commission. I could have done it or not. I think that I thought, especially in the earlier days, that if I kept a log of all I did, that they would see how valuable I was and give me more, but it never worked out that way. But I hated being bored. So I would
Right.
still do it anyway. And I enjoyed the challenge of that. I was talking about how it all actually led into helping, like with my knowledge of states, just how they are, because I'm helping her with some sales tax and payroll tax stuff. And I'm like, it reminds me of this. But the
Yeah.
point is really the overworking, hoping that you're going to get a raise that literally never comes,
Yeah.
being passed up for promotions you are that are dangled in front of your face for sometimes years. What was super frustrating for me in my corporate role was leaving. I mean, after 3 years, I got promoted to a senior tax analyst. Then I had just completed my master's, which that company thankfully paid for. It was such a blessing.
Yeah.
And then I got a job at the CPA firm. So I went to the CPA firm and I took a pay cut because I wanted the experience. And then when
Yeah.
I left and I went to the CPA firm, the company before that I worked my butt off for years, that I clearly was trying to get on the path to be taken seriously and be promoted and whatever, they call me back and they're offering me a management position. I'm like, this is so annoying, because it would have been cool if you had just done that without making me leave and pull other people into it. And
Yeah.
eventually I did go back for that role.
Yeah.
Same thing happened at the CPA firm. I talked to them about it beforehand. My old company is sharking me back. They're offering me X, Y, and Z. I don't have it in my hand yet. My boss is going to go and fight with HR, but once he gets that approved, I'm not going to yank him around. If he goes to bat for me and puts this thing in writing, I'm going to take it. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we can't match that." I was like, "It's okay. I don't blame you, because you're a mid-sized local firm and this is a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, it makes sense, but for me, I'm going to have to go back."
Yeah.
And then they were like surprised when it actually came through. And then it was just a lot of that. I think they were trying to match at the end of it. I'm like, "No, I gave you this opportunity before." And so you have to leave and do hard things that to me always felt interpersonally unethical. Like, I don't want to promise you one thing, then go get a better offer and then let you down. Like, it's just not something I want to do. But you literally have to do that in corporate to get any higher. And it could have nothing to do with you and you're going to lose your job. So like, I literally never felt safe in any of these jobs. And so it always kind of rubs me the wrong way when people think like doing your own thing is less secure. I'm like, would you rather have 25 clients or one? Because that job is essentially a client. They're a revenue stream. That was a
I
long
saw
rant.
No, no, but it made me think too because I saw something real or TikTok, I don't know about even like sure you may like I don't have any ill will at my most recent job. Like I actually enjoyed it. I think that's also why I didn't like really go all in right off the bat because I wasn't
Yeah,
like at
it's hard.
that time, yeah, being like, oh, I hate this or any of that. Like it was great, but I had seen something too where it was like it's might be okay now, but like you are one coworker away or one supervisor away or one restructure away too from it like not being like this anymore. And that was kind of where it was headed to, Katie. Like I had a new supervisor, like things like even in my previous role, like they had restructured a few times, my role had changed. So just things like that where like obviously when you're in it, you just roll with it and you're like, okay, yeah, but like now like when I think about it, it's like yeah, I was enjoying it, but again, that was also a little bit of a push too of like
Yeah.
now's a good
Yeah.
time. Like things are moving and outside of your control again. And yeah,
Yeah, you just have to learn to adapt, and that's the culture. Like, we were always buying, selling, merging, splitting, changing offices. At this
yeah,
job that I was at for like, I don't even remember, it's blurring together, 3 to 5 years total. I worked in two, three, four different offices. We moved all the time. And even when I left, it was, and I just assume everyone's heard this story. If you want the whole story, go to episode 1 of season 1 and I'll tell you about getting paid to leave my job. But when I left and took that package, they didn't tell us what they were doing it for. It was September at the time when it was announced. It was December when I left, and it was January when I was in the hospital with my baby on my chest, born the day before. And it's like news, my company sold to whatever. And I'm thinking, because the thoughts when you hear that are, am I safe? Is my job safe?
yeah,
No one in my team got let go after all
yeah,
these years. but I would have definitely been thinking about that whole time. Like, are they gonna, because that happened a lot because we took over a lot of other jobs.
Yeah. Or
So I,
software comes out, Katie. That was something too in my previous, not to interrupt you, but like
no,
they're taking on a software that would potentially, like, that was another thing. Like, because like you said, like the data manipulation, like how you are like pulling data sets and like software is like replacing some of that. And I know my company was investing in some of that too. That would literally take away hours of data manipulation,
yeah,
like that
and
we were
sometimes they have you implement it and then let you go.
they let you go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I'm forgetting
Thanks.
about that. But yeah, I went on a couple of, not a lot. I hated doing things like this, but I went to Texas one time to like learn what they were doing so that we were going to take it over, and they didn't know. They thought they were safe at the time, and then someone else on our team would have to go around and be the guy to do the layoffs. Oh, no, not fun. And I would never want to get to that point. I wouldn't want to work my way up to have that job. That would be so terrible. I would come home and cry. That would really be hard.
I'd be
Um,
the worst. Katie, I'd be like, "Oh, you want the next 3 months off? Go ahead." Like I would be the worst. Like they wouldn't want me in that position because I'm just very much I don't know. I don't know. I had coworkers, Katie, that would work. You get it. In the accounting world, they'd work like 12 plus hour days. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like I'm just not. So wouldn't be
so
me.
let's shift back to your business though. And like, I don't know, do you want to, I want to know a little bit about growing it. Like what industries you serve, not like who, but what industries you serve, where they came from, where you are now, and where you see yourself going now that your focus is purely on the business.
Let me see. So, Katie, so I mostly primarily do service-based businesses like copywriters or a marketing agency. I think it would be so cool to work with like a fitness studio or a trainer. That's like the bulk of it. I will say too, Katie, in the last year and a half, I did take on a nonprofit and found out pretty quickly that that was not where I want to go. And we've talked about community and like meeting people. And so now not only, Katie, like it's really cool because like nonprofits aren't for me, but I know several bookkeepers now too, where I'm like, they like that type of work. They're good at it. They have the systems for it and can still serve people by being like, hey, I'm not your fit, but like, here's my 3 people that I know are really good and would serve you well. So service-based businesses, I do have I'm trying to think how to explain it. I do have one that's a little bit more like hospitality
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and it's definitely a hotel like type chains that I really enjoy serving them. But yeah, mostly service based is what I like to focus on and who I like to work with. And it's primarily Tubin, Katie, like because I've worked on this a lot too the last year of like my ideal client avatar and like it's kind of fun when it's your own business and you get to pick and choose who you want to work with. I
Yeah.
love that aspect of it too. So like there's definitely, like I said, the nonprofit. I really enjoyed the woman. I was like, yeah, let me take this on. But like then when I get into the actual work, I'm like, nah, not really for me. But I get to work with a lot of moms too, Katie, which
Yes.
is really cool. And so they just get it. Like if you need to reschedule a meeting, like I'm never fearful of like they're going to fire me or this is unacceptable because I need to reschedule this meeting. Does that answer that question of mostly
Yeah.
like service based, like some of those industries? I'm trying to think
No,
because
that's
here's
great.
the thing, like my clients too, Katie, I don't want to say I haven't had any turnover, but to me, it's been very little
Yeah.
turnover. So, I
What do you
mean,
credit
sometimes
that to?
yeah.
What do you think
Um,
that, why do you think that is?
I think it's because they enjoy working with me. They like having that piece outsourced. I think they really like Katie. Now, most of my clients didn't have anything, or they
Mhm.
were like DIYing it. And then, like, obviously, I mean, you talk about this, you come in and you take it over, and like, they don't have that stress anymore. They feel taken care of and supported. And then just the clarity that they
Yeah.
have in
And they
their
know
finance.
it's getting done.
Yes, yes. Or even some of them don't want to, or like, feel intimidated by their tax preparer or CPA and like just even having that piece of like, okay, I have my bookkeeper. She knows what she's talking about. I like talking to her about this, like kind of maybe like the middleman or just being like a partner with them. And again, like just other moms who get it, I think is why I mean, I don't want to say lost, but like a lot of times too, if like their business shifts and like they're like, oh,
Yeah.
my tax preparer is going to take this in house and it works better. And that's great. That's fine. Like I'm
Mhm.
happy to serve, but again, so in my 3 years, yeah, Katie, I still have my OGs that I had to.
I love that. And so what's on the horizon with the shift to this being, I don't want to call it full time, but like this is
Yeah.
your focus now.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out, Katie. I'm so excited. Like I just mentioned, it was never really on my mind to like build a team because that's not, but now I've felt, Katie, like I'm like, I actually want to do that. And I want to hire, like, I'm getting to be the person now that's like taken your course and I have people ask about it. And I love, first off, getting to be like, here's my experience. Here's what I enjoyed. This is where my benefits were and like can speak to it now. And also, I'm like, I actually think it'd be really cool if I do grow a team, like getting like if my business could not only support me, but it supports like another mom. So like somebody else doesn't have to be like missing their kids. I don't know. School, like I haven't gone to a school activity yet, Katie, of my kids because I've been in corporate and I'm like, I felt like I had to pick and choose. So to me, I think of like now I have more capacity to take on more and it'd be really cool if I also got to like build a team of others that don't want to be in corporate anymore
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And then also like actually doing the things that you wanted to do. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing reach out, figure out how to get involved to be at the activities.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome.
Like
Yeah,
this
because it
for
could go either way, like actually just giving yourself room to breathe, or if it's client acquisition or whatever. And also, it's still very new. So, like,
you.
I think, like
So
we
new.
talked about slowing down, I
Yeah.
think your nervous system could use a beat. I would actually recommend going back into life by the books in the early, like, grounding exercise and like going back through that welcome module would because you're different now
Yeah.
like would be a really good reset too. And like, what do I want to do? Right. Yeah. What do I want to do? And then how does that play in? And so just like as we wrap up, I
Yeah.
don't know, it could be a
Talk to you all
lot,
day.
but it's like, what about life by the books? How did life by the books support you in the growth of your business?
Oh yeah, I really liked Life by the Books too. And I liked the course is really great too. And even like the building out a team, Katie, like when I bought Libby, like that wasn't at a stage where I was at, but I liked knowing I had it
Mm-hmm.
and I will use that. And I think Libby goes into even like the sales module and
Oh
like
yeah.
I know I played that and repeat at first. Like the course was really good and like even I know it dove into like how to acquire clients a little bit more and how helpful that was.
Yeah.
And then also the community piece of it, Katie. Like I don't even know which one's more valuable. Maybe for me, I just like the
I
community
think they're
piece.
both just so
They're
necessary. I
so
think
yes. I
that's
wouldn't
why
trade
they're
one for
not
the other.
separate because
Yeah.
I don't think they can be. Because like I really whenever I'm making something, I think about like how can I get you what you need, and
Yeah.
people want things differently. Sometimes they want just the course, and I'm like, but if I gave you just the course, like I could not cover everything. And
No.
sometimes the things that pop up outside of the course are so small and
Yeah.
so obvious that
Yeah.
it's so easy to help people through. And I want you to be able to have that, like not just with me but with others, like you talked about finding other people to refer things to, crowdsourcing. Like I have my ideas, but there's also what worked for someone else and somebody can share their experience. What about the two elements? So also, because I'm going to put this on YouTube too, and YouTube is kind of new. Like when we say Libby, we're talking about life by the books. That's
Yep.
its
Yep.
nickname. And so Libby helps you grow the actual business once you have this skill. So it comes after Babs, or if you've already got what's in Babs already in your brain. And it has the course that takes you through the 6 phases you need to go through to be able to grow a business. And like you said, think about what might come next
Yeah.
because everyone's always just worried about the client, but there's actually quite a few things that come up, including the inevitable icky stuff.
I
Like,
was just gonna say that was a piece
right,
of it too. I
right,
yeah.
like where you go for boundary issues, scope creep, things like that, and just have some swipe and some guidance on that. And then there is the community aspect where there is a monthly live group call, but also an active group chat. You can reach out to me if it's private. And then we have like the vault of replay coaching calls. I was going to ask about that because people usually binge that pretty hard. And there's like 90 episodes now, which is cool. And they have their titles so you can kind of pick and choose or just like randomly choose which one you're going to listen to that day and see what pops out. And then tech talks. So I was going to ask about your experience with the tech talks
Yeah.
and the coaching call replays.
Yeah. No, I'm one of the ones that binged it, Katie. And it's the tech talks were really like I'm very much I this keeps me like being a recurring theme too, Katie, of like where I'll hear things or see things and it's like a light bulb or it's like duh or like why didn't I think of that or like oh the solution is so simple or like why didn't I challenge myself with that question previously, and it's like you need to hear it. For me, I needed to hear it or see it. So the tech talks were very much like sometimes like the issues like you'd be working through weren't what I was facing at that moment, but it was like oh now I know that that's there. Like that's a
Right.
big with the community of like just even feeling so much more confident and empowered because I'm like, okay, this I haven't seen this issue, but it has happened so many times where then I do see the issue and I'm like, oh, here's the resource for it. Here's what they
Yes.
did. I still have screenshots of like, this is how you handle something. And now I know it, Katie, but at the time I didn't.
Right,
So
right.
like,
And then the repeating things that come up. I referenced a tech talk the other day because I took a sales call with somebody who uses Toast. And I'm like, I haven't done Toast, but I know I've talked about Toast. So I went into the tech talk and I was like, Toast, boom. And then there were like example reports, and I could see they don't look fun. They really don't look fun. And then I watched my own tech talk and I was like, oh man, like, oh no, that's not as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. And so I priced it more accordingly because now I know. So that saves me from having to go in and figure that out. And yeah, that was another thing that like came up because how can I help you actually grow a business if there are random ever changing things that come up and I tell you like that's not in scope? Like yeah,
right.
it is. And I can't promise you that I'm going to know everything, but I'll get on there with you and so will whoever's there, and we work through the issue, and you'll either know you're not alone or you'll get your answer or you'll at least have your next point of where you go or other ways that we can approach this. And we're all such geeks, so it's
Yeah,
great
it's,
because
it's fun.
like you said, even when it's not pertaining to you, I do find that the room is like really engaged for what we're talking about. And I don't know, I always love those. I
It's
always love
like
them.
nobody gatekeeps. Like it in my like again in my experience, it was nobody like it's not like it was just you, Katie, in the group talking. Like everybody was willing to jump in and be like, well, this is what I saw. This is
Yeah.
what I've done. Like this is how I handled that. Like really interesting. And we'd get like different perspectives
Yeah.
too from different I I think it's really neat.
And even
Yeah.
just sometimes knowing it's not ours. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is a tax issue. This is a before you issue. This is maybe we need to reach out here, or we'll just do this for right now and we'll focus on the future. And we'll also learn, I think from Tech Talks, we learn sometimes too how important what we do is, and
Yeah.
how if you came earlier or you listened to us about a system, we could avoid some of the craziness that comes up.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Tech Talks, I'm thinking about like my calendar and what's on my calendar in a month. Tech Talks have to be the heaviest assignment I take on, but I like them. Like they're so fun. And so that's included in Life by the Books. It can be sold separately. And it's we come live. You can bring your actual question and have people help you through it, which is so helpful to have. But you also have the replay vault that's in Kajabi. So those are videos. And you can like look up Square and Square will come up, payroll, officers, whatever, shareholder loans. Like we've talked about all of it over the years, which is super cool. They started in 2022. So that's a big vault also that I love. Anything else that you want to share before we close up? I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey. I know it hits home for a lot of people, like that being in corporate, wanting to step out, thinking about how you can do it when your plate's already so full and if it's worth it. So
Yeah.
like it sounds like 2022 you knew it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
how do you feel now? Like did you surpass what you thought was possible?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, Katie. And even now, like I know your story is like you do it in the time that you used to commute. And like I should have just let myself believe it sooner because it's so true and it's so cool. Like when we're recording this, it's gonna be my daughter's birthday. And I'm like, I'm gonna take her and do stuff on Friday. And I'm like, I wouldn't do I've never, I mean, she's gonna be 9 and I've never done that. Could I have? Probably, but like you get in your head with corporate and you're like, oh, I can't take off, like, oh, I have to be there. And yeah, long answer. But it's surpassed it and getting to like enjoy the work I'm doing and enjoy who I'm working with and for and what it does for them is so it's so cool, Katie. And like I said, getting to own my schedule now too.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have believed it in 2022. Me would not believe it, but
How did the timeline feel like now that
yeah,
you're removed from being in that position now? Because it's always like, will I get there? Like, will it take a long
yeah,
time or whatever? Like, how, in hindsight, how did the time to grow feel?
it felt good, Katie. I grew pretty slow the first year intentionally. I did not, I mean, truly, once I started putting more time or effort into it, that's definitely when I would say, like, in the last year and a half, like when I actually took it seriously of like, okay, this is something you want to do and be a business. And it felt good for me. I'm
So
glad it,
you feel like you really were growing in the last year and a half.
yeah, I would say so,
Can
Katie.
I
Yeah.
ask how many clients you're at?
Yeah, I'm at almost 20.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's like that's a lot of clients
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
20
So I feel like
clients to
it's,
be running while you also have three kids and a business is
yes.
awesome.
Yes, it got like, and again, I just got to be too much where I was like, the whole point of this, Katie, was to
20
have
by
more time with
yourself.
your kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dang, that's awesome.
Katie, I know.
What do you think you work in a week or maybe a month? Because some weeks are heavier than others.
Others. And again, I'm only 3 weeks into this full time. And so some of those, Katie,
At
too,
20
just came
clients,
on.
right?
Yes, some of them just came on with
Okay,
the new year and stuff too.
awesome.
So quite a probably a handful or more. So it wasn't always at my 20, but like I said, it really exploded, I'd say, in the last 6 months. But this is such a good question. I would probably say 15 hours a week, Katie, to 20,
Perfect.
like at month
Yeah,
end. Or if, and again, I mean, we're in February, so it's kind of
yeah,
busy time. Like some clients are now asking for things that they wouldn't typically ask for. So it
yeah.
feels a little probably busier than it typically.
Oh my gosh, how fun though. What a fun phase to be in. Seriously. That's such a good, healthy number. And there's so many different ways you can slice it. My departing words of wisdom to you are to make sure that with this open space in your calendar, you don't accidentally fill it with work that isn't necessary. Like
Yeah.
that you really work on actually protecting your time, even as you grow clients. Because I would really love for you to also check in with me in a year and let me know like what the growth is from here to this same day next year. Because
Yeah.
it's
I would
just
love
wild what happens to the saying is the universe hates a vacuum. So where something becomes empty, it rushes to fill it. And
yes.
that can definitely be true of our calendar. It can also be true of our capacity. So, like, without even marketing, when you have 20 clients, you are going to grow whether you want to or not. You've put in marketing efforts before that are like in the works where someone's going to reach out that's already got you on the radar, and then you're going to have clients start new businesses, clients refer you, their tax preparers refer you, like it all starts. This is the point where it really starts popping off.
Yeah.
And so at this phase, your biggest thing is actually protecting what you're building it for. So definitely go back through the
I'm
welcome
going,
module of Libby, like make time for that, even if you're just listening,
yeah.
but make some time and space so that you can like re-anchor back into getting super intentional so that it doesn't accidentally fill because it's crazy what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
I could see that. I would coming in out of like I knew I was quitting corporate and I like filled my calendar, Katie. I did that exact thing. And I've had to go through in the last like week and a half and like reschedule things out because I was like that was
yes,
silly.
move them. And then also, I'm sure that you have somewhere in your library that intention setting workshop. Do that
I
too,
do.
and
I
schedule
do. I
some
love
fun.
it.
Yeah,
I
schedule
do
some.
have that.
It's because then your calendar is protected with your fun. But so that's mine for you. And I just want to thank you for being on. And is there anything that you want to wrap up and say, like to those listening, any words of encouragement or last words before we close?
Gosh, yeah, Katie. I would tell them like if somebody first off, they can always obviously reach out to me. I love to chat about it.
Yeah,
But
where? Tell them
so I'm
where.
at Bookkeeping by Molly on Instagram.
Bookkeeping
Yeah.
by Molly.
Yep. Yep. But I would say go for it, Katie. I cannot even believe I'm on your podcast. I binged them all. I didn't believe it for how long, but until you get into it and to just start, Katie, like me, you and I said of like kind of wish. I mean, I can't go back and change the past. And I'm always like, think of where I'm going to be in 10 years and like how cool this is, but also think if I would have waited too.
Yep,
So I would say
absolutely.
just
Yeah.
start it
Well,
work,
thank you
start it. Yeah.
so much for coming on and sharing. I will link up your Instagram in
Okay.
the show notes. And I just really appreciate you coming on. I know your story is going to resonate with so many people.
I hope so. It's
Thank you.
cool. Thank you, Katie.